Welcome back to Who Immortal Today, the channel where we celebrate lives, legacies, and the unforgettable stories that time can never erase. Today's episode is a tender and deeply human one. We're reflecting on the journeys of 10 Golden Age stars who regretted having kids, a side of stardom rarely seen and often misunderstood. These names may stir memories, surprise you, or gently open chapters of Hollywood's past that still echo in our hearts. They came from television, music, and the golden screen. Each one gifted, beloved, and navigating a life that wasn't always what it seemed from the outside. We'll share rare photographs, untold truths, and quiet reflections on how fame can bless, and sometimes deeply burden, the path to parenthood. Some of these stars grew and changed with time. Others took painful detours, and some have long since left us, but their stories still speak. If stories of love, legacy, and longing touch your heart the way they touch ours, we invite you to like this video, subscribe, and tap the bell so you won't miss a single tribute. And please share this with someone who remembers. Let's honor these lives, not with judgment, but with gentleness, empathy, and the reverence they deserve. Let's begin. News 1. Barbara Walters. A life of questions, legacy, and quiet regret. Barbara Walters was a trailblazer, a woman who shattered glass ceilings in television journalism and redefined what it meant to be a serious interviewer in a male-dominated industry. Born on September 25, 1929 in Boston, Massachusetts, Walters rose to prominence in the 1960s and 1970s, becoming the first woman to co-host a network news program and later the first to co-anchor a nightly evening news broadcast. Over her decades-long career, Walters interviewed world leaders, celebrities, and cultural icons with a signature mix of grace, tenacity, and empathy. From Fidel Castro to Oprah Winfrey, her interviews often revealed the human side of the world's most powerful figures. She created and hosted The View, offering a platform for women's voices that reshaped daytime television. Yet behind her success lay a personal longing. In later years, Walters openly expressed regret about not having more children. She adopted her only daughter, Jacqueline, in the 1960s, but confessed, "I regret not having more children. I would have loved to have had a bigger family." Her demanding career, which required constant travel and long hours, often left little space for motherhood, a trade-off she felt deeply. Despite her regrets, Walters poured love into her daughter and remained a mentor and inspiration to generations of journalists. Her vulnerability in sharing her personal struggles made her not only respected, but deeply human. Barbara Walters retired from television in 2014, leaving behind a legacy that few could rival. She passed away on December 30th, 2022, at the age of 93. Though she interviewed thousands, the unasked questions of her own life, particularly about family, linger as part of her remarkable, complex story. News 2. Jane Fonda. A life of activism, art, and honest reflection. Jane Fonda is more than a Hollywood legend. She's a cultural force. Born on December 21, 1937, to actor Henry Fonda and socialite Francis Ford Seymour, Jane grew up in the shadows of fame and family tragedy. Over her decades-spanning career, she became known not just for her acting talent, but for her fearless activism, personal reinvention, and unflinching honesty. Fonda earned 2 Academy Awards for Clute and Coming Home, and became a defining figure of 1970s cinema. But she was never confined to the screen. She was a vocal anti-war activist, a fitness icon with her groundbreaking workout series, and later, a champion for climate justice and women's rights. Yet despite her public success, Fonda has spoken candidly about the private role she struggled with most: motherhood. In a 2023 interview, she revealed, "I was not the kind of mother that I wish that I had been to my children. I just didn't know how to do it." As a young mother balancing fame, activism, and personal demons, Fonda often felt disconnected from her children, daughter Vanessa Vadim, and sons Troy Garrity, and adopted son Mary Williams. Her childhood, marked by emotional distance and the suicide of her mother, left her without a clear roadmap for parenting. Over time, she worked to heal those relationships, embracing self-awareness and growth. Jane Fonda's legacy is not just in the roles she played or the causes she championed, but in her willingness to evolve and to admit her mistakes. Her openness about the regret she carries as a mother is a poignant reminder that even icons are human, learning and striving long after the spotlight dims. News 3. Diane Keaton, A Singular Life and the Humbling Road to Motherhood. Diane Keaton has long stood apart in Hollywood, a woman of wit, charm, and fearless individuality. Born on January 5, 1946 in Los Angeles, Keaton rose to prominence with iconic roles in films like The Godfather, Annie Hall, and Something's Gotta Give. Her quirky style, magnetic presence, and refusal to conform earned her critical acclaim and a devoted following. While Keaton never married, she made the life-changing decision to become a mother in her 50s, adopting her daughter Dexter in 1996 and her son Duke in 2001. It was a bold, deeply personal choice, made outside traditional timelines and societal expectations. Though fiercely private, Keaton has occasionally spoken about how motherhood transformed her, not with ease, but with humility. She called it the most humbling experience of her life, a rare confession from someone known for her independence and control. The challenges of parenting, especially as a single older mother, were far greater than she had anticipated. Her words suggest not regret, but a deep reckoning with the reality of motherhood, a role that no script could prepare her for. She has acknowledged how raising children required her to confront parts of herself she hadn't faced before, including fear, vulnerability, and the limits of control. Still, Keaton has spoken with love and admiration for her children, who remain central to her later years. Her journey reminds us that motherhood, like life, doesn't always follow a perfect arc, and that late beginnings can bring the deepest lessons. Diane Keaton's story isn't one of regret, but of reverence, for the raw, unpredictable, and deeply human experience of being a mother. News 4. Helen Mirren, A Life of Mastery and a Moment of Unexpected Grief. Helen Mirren has long been admired for her strength, elegance, and commanding presence. Born on July 26, 1945 in London, Mirren carved out a legendary career in theater, film, and television. Known for her fearless performances, from Shakespearean queens to modern-day icons, she's one of the few actors to have won the Triple Crown of acting, an Oscar, an Emmy, and a Tony. Throughout her life, Mirren made it clear that she never felt the pull toward motherhood. In interviews, she expressed contentment with her choice, often pushing back against societal pressure to define womanhood by parenthood. She married director Taylor Hackford later in life and became a loving stepmother to his children, but never had biological children of her own. Still, in a rare and revealing moment, Mirren shared that while watching the film Parenthood, she broke down unexpectedly. "I cried and cried and cried. It was the first time I realized that I had lost something, the chance at parenthood." Her admission was not a reversal, but a window into the complexity of choice and emotion. It showed that even when we stand firm in our decisions, we can still grieve the versions of ourselves that never came to be. Helen Mirren's story is not one of regret, but of honest reflection. She has lived a full, rich life, driven by passion, creativity, and deep relationships, while still honoring a fleeting moment of sorrow for a path she didn't take. In her vulnerability, Mirren gave voice to a quiet truth: that fulfillment and grief can sometimes coexist, and in doing so, She reminded us that every life, whether it includes children or not, holds meaning, depth, and dignity. News 5. Julie Christie. A star of the screen, and a soul who chose a different path. Julie Christie was one of the most radiant and enigmatic stars of 1960s and 70s cinema. Born on April 14, 1940, in British India, and raised in rural Wales and England, Christie rose to international fame with unforgettable performances in Darling, Dr. Zhivago, and Far from the Madding Crowd. With her striking beauty, intellect, and emotional depth, she became a symbol of her generation, both alluring and elusive. Unlike many of her peers, Christie never sought the constant spotlight. She was known for turning down major roles, shying away from Hollywood's glare, and living life on her own terms. That independence extended to her personal choices, including her decision not to have children. In candid interviews, Christie admitted that motherhood was something she consciously stepped away from. "I don't think I would have been a good mother," she once said. "Being a parent brings immense responsibility, almost too much for me." Her words reflect a rare self-awareness, a recognition that love alone does not guarantee readiness for the weight of parenting. Christie's choice wasn't rooted in selfishness, but in respect for the role itself. She understood its gravity and acknowledged that her temperament, freedom-loving nature, and lifelong commitment to activism and introspection may not have suited the demands of raising a child. Still, her legacy is rich and lasting, not as a mother, but as an artist and thinker who inspired millions. She continues to be a symbol of strength in choosing a life aligned with one's own truth. Julie Christie reminds us that sometimes the bravest thing a person can do is admit what they're not meant for, and still live with purpose, grace, and authenticity. News 6. Katharine Hepburn. A legend of independence and an unapologetic truth. Katharine Hepburn was a force of nature, sharp, fearless, and unapologetically herself. Born on May 12, 1907, in Hartford, Connecticut, she became one of Hollywood's most iconic and enduring stars. With a record 4 Academy Awards for Best Actress, Hepburn redefined what it meant to be a leading woman in film: smart, strong, and unconcerned with conforming. From The Philadelphia Story to Guess Who's Coming to Dinner and The African Queen, Hepburn captivated audiences with her wit, intelligence, and unmatched presence. But behind the camera, she was just as radical, defying gender norms, refusing to marry after a brief early union, and proudly living life on her own terms. When it came to motherhood, Hepburn was strikingly direct. She never had children and famously said, "I would have been a terrible mother because I'm basically a very selfish human being." It wasn't said with shame, but with clarity and a deep sense of self-awareness. Hepburn valued freedom and solitude, admitting that the structure and selflessness required for parenting weren't traits she possessed or desired to cultivate. Her honesty, though blunt, reflected a deeper respect for the demands of motherhood and a refusal to pursue it out of obligation or expectation. Instead, she poured her passion into her work, her few close relationships, and a life that defied every conventional blueprint. In doing so, she became a symbol of autonomy, proving that fulfillment doesn't have to follow tradition. Katharine Hepburn didn't regret the life she chose. She understood herself and lived accordingly. In a world that often pressures women to be everything to everyone, her refusal to pretend remains a revolutionary act and a powerful legacy. News 7. Lauren Bacall, the icon who faced motherhood with honesty and humor. Lauren Bacall was elegance with an edge, a voice like smoke, a gaze that stopped hearts, and a presence that defined classic Hollywood. Born Betty Joan Persky on September 16, 1924, in the Bronx, Bacall burst onto the silver screen with To Have and Have Not, opposite Humphrey Bogart, a film that began both a legendary career and a famously passionate love affair. She married Bogart at age 20 and had 2 children with him before his death in 1957. She later had a 3rd child with actor Jason Robards. Despite her deep love for her children, Bacall never pretended motherhood came easily. Her life was filled with travel, film sets, and the demands of a high-profile career, all of which complicated the traditional expectations of being a mother. In a moment of candid reflection, Bacall once shared how her son pointed out that she never wore an apron, a childhood symbol of momness he associated with other mothers. She turned it into a joke, as she often did, but the moment stuck with her. It gently revealed the distance between the maternal ideal and the mother she actually was. Bacall acknowledged that she wasn't the most nurturing or domestic presence, and that her style of mothering had its limits. She was fiercely independent, often absorbed in her work and survival, especially after Bogart's early death. But she was also deeply devoted in her own way, present when it counted, protective and proud. Her honesty about motherhood didn't diminish her, it deepened her. Lauren Bacall's life was layered with brilliance, vulnerability, and grit. She loved her children, even as she admitted she wasn't always the softest place to land. And in her self-awareness, she left behind a legacy as real as it was remarkable. News 8. Bette Davis, a star torn between stage and motherhood. Bette Davis, born Ruth Elizabeth Davis on April 5, 1908 in Lowell, Massachusetts, was one of Hollywood's most iconic and uncompromising actresses. Known for her intensity, fearlessness, and dramatic flair, Davis carved a legendary career across 5 decades, earning 2 Academy Awards and 10 nominations. Her ascent to fame came through fierce determination and a refusal to conform to Hollywood's expectations of beauty and femininity. With standout performances in Jezebel, 1938, All About Eve, 1950, and Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, 1962, Davis proved time and again that substance could outshine glamour. Behind the scenes, however, Davis's personal life was marked by turbulence, especially her role as a mother. In a rare and candid admission for her time, Davis revealed that motherhood nearly derailed her career. After giving birth to her daughter, B.D. Hyman, in 1947, she struggled to balance her fierce devotion to acting with the demands of parenting. Davis returned to work quickly, feeling the pressure to maintain her star power in a fickle industry. As B.D. grew older, the mother-daughter relationship became strained. In 1985, B.D. published a controversial memoir, My Mother's Keeper, which portrayed Davis as emotionally abusive and controlling. The book was released while Davis was recovering from a mastectomy and a stroke, leading to widespread public sympathy for the actress and a bitter rift between the 2 women that was never repaired. Despite personal heartbreaks, Bette Davis remained a trailblazer. She became the first female president of the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences and fought for better roles for women. Until her death in 1989, she never stopped working or challenging the system that tried to mold her. Davis's legacy is that of a fiercely independent woman who refused to be anything less than extraordinary, both on and off the screen. News 9. Olivia de Havilland, Grace, Grit, and the Quiet Struggle Between Career and Motherhood. Olivia de Havilland, born on July 1, 1916 in Tokyo, Japan to British parents, became one of Hollywood's most admired actresses during its golden age. Known for her refined beauty and fierce intelligence, she rose to fame with memorable roles in The Adventures of Robin Hood, 1938, and Gone with the Wind, 1939, where she portrayed the gentle yet strong Melanie Hamilton. But de Havilland's legacy extended far beyond the screen. In 1943, she challenged the studio system in a landmark legal battle against Warner Brothers, a bold move that resulted in the de Havilland Law, a court ruling that limited the length of studio contracts. Her victory redefined artist rights in Hollywood and marked her as a woman unafraid to stand up for her independence. In 1949, after the birth of her first child, Benjamin, de Havilland made a deliberate decision to slow her Hollywood career. She declined several high-profile film offers and instead turned to stage work and select European films, particularly during her years living in Paris. Though she never publicly expressed regret, her interviews later revealed a quiet tension between personal fulfillment and professional ambition. She spoke of motherhood with pride, but acknowledged that choosing family meant stepping away from the momentum of her career during a crucial period. Despite this shift, de Havilland earned 2 Academy Awards, for To Each His Own, 1946, and The Heiress, 1949, proving her range and depth as an actress. She remained active well into later life, earning acclaim for her television work and receiving the National Medal of Arts and France's Legion of Honor. When Olivia de Havilland passed away in 2020 at age 104, she left behind a legacy of elegance, resilience, and quiet defiance, both on screen and in the life she chose to lead. News then. Sophia Loren, screen legend, devoted mother. Sophia Loren, born Sofia Vianney Ciccoloni on September 20th, 1934, in Rome, Italy, rose from poverty to become one of the most celebrated actresses of the 20th century. With her striking beauty, sharp wit, and emotional depth, Loren became an international icon, starring in both European and Hollywood films such as Two Women, 1960, Marriage Italian Style, 1964, and El Cid, 1961. Her performance in Two Women earned her the Academy Award for Best Actress, the first ever for a foreign language role. At the height of her fame, Loren married film producer Carlo Ponti and became a mother to 2 sons. Though she continued acting, Loren often spoke candidly about the intense emotional demands of motherhood and how it reshaped her identity and priorities. "When you are a mother, you are never really alone in your thoughts," she once said. "You think twice, once for yourself and once for your child." Loren recognized that parenting required a level of humility and selflessness that contrasted with the spotlight of stardom. Despite her fame, she shielded her children from Hollywood's glare, preferring a more private family life rooted in traditional values. She often turned down roles or limited her work to ensure she could be present during her children's formative years. Her later career included selective film and television appearances, But Loren never expressed regret over placing motherhood at the center of her life. Instead, she saw it as her most meaningful role. In her memoirs and interviews, she reflected on the balance she tried to strike between artistic ambition and maternal devotion, a balance she viewed not as a sacrifice, but as a deeply human choice. Sophia Loren remains a symbol of grace, strength, and timeless talent, both as a cinematic legend and a mother who chose love over limelight. Thank you for spending this time with us, for listening, remembering, and honoring the real lives behind the spotlight. These stars gave us moments we'll never forget, but behind the fame were people just like us, full of hope, hurt, love, and longing. Regret doesn't erase love. It reveals the weight of choices made under pressure in a world that rarely offered grace. Their stories remind us that even legends are human, and sometimes the most powerful legacy isn't perfection, it's honesty. If this touched you, please let us know in the comments. Share your memories, your thoughts, or just a quiet thank you to these artists. Your voice matters here. Like, subscribe, and tap the bell if you'd like to keep walking with us through these stories of life, love, and legacy. Until next time, be kind to those who came before us, and gentle with those still finding their way. This is who immortal today, and their stories live on.